Wala, and you are watching Global Abundance Organization Television, GAO TV. And look who's there. This is Robin Hughes, and he is a visionary, he is a missionary, he's man on mission. Coming from New Zealand, he's New Zealand born, and he's Australian national also. And he is man on mission in Cambodia for education, for uplift of their poverty, elevation, and he is working primarily on education, and he is teaching English also, and not only simple English. Hughes is Mr. Robin is doing mind work, and he is upscaling and upgrading mindsets through teaching English and upscaling mindsets. Over to you, Robbins. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm feeling good tonight compared to the other night last night when I wasn't feeling so good. I'm a bit better. So yes, like I was just telling my students tonight, if you increase, they're very focused on grammar. They want to improve their grammar. If you want to improve your grammar, you can improve your future by this much, right? The amount that you're going to earn in the future might, you'll increase a little bit because you know grammar. And when you're not a native English speaker, it can help you to be able to speak English better, provided you can apply the grammar in real life situations. Most of the teachers in Cambodia, from my experience, a lot of the teachers that are Cambodian or from Philippines or they're not native speakers, they know grammar, but they can't, when it comes to use it in real situations, their grammar goes wrong, right? So when they're speaking, when they're writing, if they're put on the spot, it goes to custard. So you need to be able to carry your grammar across to be able to use it in real life. And I focus on real life, right? I focus on being able to connect with people in reality, and being able to use English with speaking with native speakers. So a lot of people, they learn English, but then they don't end up using it, or they can't use it properly in practice. And some of those people go to teach, right? They go to teach, and that's unfortunate. And it takes a lot of care to make sure that you put in the work to take the grammar to, you learn it, then you put in the work to really get it embedded so it becomes habit. And then you go and you experiment and use it in real life, right? So at Riahan Academy, the focus is, using it in real life. So if you're using it in real life, the same as at my academy, we focus on using on real life, then you're learning for the purpose of being able to speak and being able to communicate through written and presenting as well. You focus on the end result, so you learn it, you put in the work, and then you use it. You experiment with it. You're testing, using it in real situations with real people. Okay, and so that's really important. And this is relevant when we're talking about scaling impact, right? Because we want to talk about scaling impacts. And in order to scale impacts, we need to be able to take something and be able to reproduce it, to copy it, and to be able to take it so that lots of people can take the ideas, the knowledge, and the skills, and they can apply it in their life. The more obstacles and friction there is in the way, the more things get stuck. We need people to be able to embody it and to be ambassadors and share it and for it to go on. So the more obstacles and things that are stuck in the way, the more difficult it is, right? So for example, having teachers that haven't learned to apply the grammar beyond tests and textbook learning to real life, then they pass it on, and it's not being the learning, the English language, the scaling of it through to these young people that could really benefit from being able to communicate with foreigners is, it's not working that well. It's people getting stuck in this inefficiency, in these links in the learning pathways where they're not being taught English correctly, and they're not being linked across properly into real usage with real connection with native speakers. So yeah, it's really, really important. For me, looking at my experience, I worked a lot. I work with problems, solving problems, and then I'm like, how can we get these solutions out to people? How can we make the most impact with these? So I asked them questions. Where is it that I can make the most impact? How can I do this? And I realized, although education, often there isn't much money in that in terms of using money as a vehicle for change. What there is in education is that is a vehicle for communicating ideas and sharing ideas and getting that embodied. So the whole process of education is one of scaling. It's of taking knowledge and skills and helping people to grasp them and get that, and then they can share onto others. So people talk about, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, and then, but if you give a man a fishing rod, then you feed him for his life, right? This kind of idea. And you think, well, what about if you teach somebody to teach fishing, right? What about if you teach somebody how to make fishing rods, right? So this is like you go back. What about if you teach somebody how to teach somebody how to fish, right? So you're talking about scaling. You're talking about how do we go back further, and that's what we do when we ask the 5 whys. We look at a problem and we go back. What's behind that? What's behind that? What's behind that? To get back to what's really at the heart of problems. So this is the problem solving thing. But when we're looking at how we make that work and how we scale, we're talking about how, not why. Okay? But we can also ask about what would it take? In other words, how are we going to achieve it? Right? What would it take to get from where we are to where we want to go? So we want this abundance everywhere. So what are the steps we're going to take? What can we do now with what we've got, our current capabilities? How can we make the most difference? How can we make the most impacts? Right? So yes, you have the element of education, right? We need education. So we need people that are passionate, that if we can share our passion and other people can get that and they can share it, then we can go on. So we want it to be simple and easy for people to get passionate, to get on board, to get a feel for it to be, to gain that passion and gain that skill, to feel confident in using it in their life and sharing it with others. Because motivation is part of it, but a huge part of it is any friction or obstacle. The easier we can make it for people to get on board with it and use it and feel comfortable sharing it, the easier it is. It's easy to gain passion, right? But passion and enthusiasm is killed by friction and obstacles. Because I really, really want to do that, but then the pain, the obstacle, the more you try, the more you want something, the more you're pushing against the friction obstacles, the more pain there is, the more suffering, right? And so what does that do? People don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want things to be difficult. So what do? They let go of their passion. They let go of their motivation and they give up, right? They decide, no, I am going somewhere else. I'm going where it's more comfortable. And sure, right, they go back to comfort, but they're not really comfortable because there's in the background, what if? What if I could do it? What if I could be making more impact? There's often, like, once we start to believe in something's possible, then our conscience creates a dissonance. It's like, I could do that, I can't do that. And there's the two minds on the thing creates dissonance. When we care and we give up, then it's very difficult for us. When we care and we do it, there's no dissonance, right? There's no If we can do that without a lot of friction and obstacle, then we can be in alignment with our values. We can be in alignment with who we are, and that is powerful, right? That is powerful. That's powerful stuff. So there's that element of it. Money can be fuel, right? Because with money you can do stuff. You can fund teaching. You can fund activities that promote. You can use it to get people to help do media stuff, to do get people that are good with cameras and art and programming and many things. People need money to eat, right? So even if they're very passionate about things, an obstacle in order to be able to create change and do things is if they're worried about money, right? If people are worried about money, then they are not able to do some of the things that they want to do because they're restricted by the need to look after their families, right? So a lot of people get stuck with that, with their obligations to survival, which gets in the way of their passion for making a difference. So it doesn't stop them altogether, but it makes it harder, right? So when I worked in a game studio, that was an issue. People have stuff happening in their life, and they need to be able to survive. And so, with projects, they often have to stop because of that. They can't see it through to the end because they need to look after their family. They need to look after other things. So money as a driver is also in that aspect, but also money as a driver in the sense of some people, they don't do the right thing for the right reason to begin with, right? So they kind of fall into doing they do the right thing for another reason, ulterior motive, and then somewhere along the line, something pulls on their heartstrings, right? And as they're experiencing, like I've talked before about how sometimes our mindset follow our behavior. First, we do the actions and develop the behaviors and habits, and then that results in a mindset shift rather than it coming from mindset first. So I came across this concept before, which is touch and teach, which means first, when you touch somebody's lives, you impact them positively, you impact their heart. They feel cared about, like genuinely you care about them, and then their ears open up, right? Their ears open up because their hearts open up. They're open, they feel safe enough, they feel comfortable enough with you to share and to also to listen. So you're able to teach them. So first you touch and then you teach. Because you are there for them and you help them and care about them, then they gain enough safe feelings of safety and comfort that then they can learn, okay? They can, because we need a certain degree of comfort in order to be able to learn, which is kind of, as I said before, is contrary to the comfort zone theory, which thinks that you have to be outside. A lot of people live outside of comfort. They live really difficult lives, and they can't learn because they're too stressed and uncomfortable. So we need to get back into a frame of enough safety. We could talk about psychological safety in the workplace, for example. They need to be in a situation where they feel comfortable enough to be able and safe enough to be able to change. Right? So yes, money, it can be a factor, right? It can be used for good or for bad. It's a tool. It's a tool that can be used for good or bad. So yes, in terms of the whole non-profit arena, sustainability is a real issue, because what happens is a lot of organizations, they keep asking people for money, right? Now, what happens when, for whatever reason, the economy's down, or for whatever reason, they can't get the money anymore? People don't have money to give. And also there's all the effort that goes into continually trying to get people, asking people for money. And quite a lot of the money that's donated goes into the recruiting process, finding people to give. And also what happened is there's often people, high up in these organizations making a huge lot of money, okay, because they're non-profit. But when they pay their work, the people that work there getting paid, and sometimes a huge amount of money. And where does that come from? And you think that those people are helping out of the goodness of their heart?
Generally,
right?
I do. Generally, I think so.
Some people down lower, right? Maybe, but sometimes the whole way up from the top to the bottom, they're all paid, right? And sometimes it's not even any volunteers, right? So, yeah, some people give from the goodness of their heart, but in terms of their time, but a lot of money is lost along the way, so it's inefficient. And also, as I say, the big issue is what happens when things turn bad, right? When things turn bad in terms of the money not being available, it being hard to get it becoming more and more difficult to get the money. The people on the receiving end suffer, right? The money isn't there for them. So they're reliant on people continually giving, and they're always having to ask all the time. It's not a good position to be in. And there's, as I say, money getting siphoned off. People driving around in fancy cars and having all sorts of entertainment and luxury, right?
That's the ulterior motives. I mean, not the right reason. Okay, can I ask a question about scaling?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, since everything starts from a very small baby steps, then it scales. Like, I mean, what we I have learned about the technology, those who are exponential.
Yes.
The first step is to digitize them. They got to be in 0 1 format so that they are easy to handle with. So you can copy paste, and I mean, copy pasting is another one way of scaling. And the second, second phase, I mean, it goes, the efforts goes, and you keep working. You're working. You understand because you are creator of the process and you're creator of the idea. But those who don't, they are suspicious, and generally people do believe in results only. And I mean, there are quite a few things. I mean, those get you results in the first phase. There are a lot of things which, I mean, you got to go to the final stage and the phase, then and you get the results. So I mean, the first step is digitization. Second is disruptive phase. Third is disruptive phase. Like that, there's a point of time like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and this goes on in 1.8 and so.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's the point of time when it goes 30 to 64 and 120. This goes like that. So that's where it starts. Yeah, that's the point when it comes out of the ground, and then people say, "Oh, it's like say Uber," and so things. So these are exponential. Then it go for dematerialization, like cell phone do have a lot of features in this, but it has a television feature, but there's no television. It has a telephone feature, but there is no that typical phone. It has a music system, but you do not have big, huge speakers and that the amplifiers and the whole orchestra and all gadgets.
Yes.
It does have it does have the feature of music, but it does not have the material sense. So lot many things could be. We can talk of thousand.
Yes. Technology.
That is dematerialization, and then another things come demonetization. I mean, like you and me, you're talking. I mean, we are communicating right now. We may not talk. I mean, still you'll have to pay that electricity bill. Still you'll have to pay you're using this internet connection. Still you'll have to. I mean, but I mean, what we have put together electricity and gadgets, and through we are connected through internet, through some softwares which are freely available. So that is, I mean, we for no cost we are communicating so effectively. I am learning a lot of stuff. I mean, you're coming from New Zealand, and you have got you're Australian also. That's the first world. Where I'm sitting is even where you are sitting right now is part of third world. So what I'm learning from a person of higher stature and higher IQ, rather EQ also, these qualities I'm learning very effectively, and there's no cost involved. And I have kickstarted a huge, big, big, impactful organization, that is Global Abundance Organization, out of no funds. I mean, I am almost getting the one country head from each country, and he or she, they are they really want to contribute and pay back to the society, because I am telling everybody this is for not for money. If you look for money, I mean, this is not the right. This is not the place. Then this is not the platform. But person like yourself, those who people are looking for impact. Look, I mean, to me, I mean, to my, you may agree or you may not agree. My belief is each bit of piece that I mean that I have to eat or drink or whatever I have to use, it is already written, and I'll get it somehow or the other. No, I mean, I've got 2 points. Do I get it right way or wrong way? That's to me. I can steal this shirt from some shop, and I can buy it from shop. So that's in my, that's why I mean when we die, then there's concept of like you will be rewarded or you will be punished. So I mean that's how it goes on. Okay, now coming to the look at the old leaders, those whom we call leaders. They were the people of impact. Be Nancy Mandela, be Abraham Lincoln, be anybody. I mean, from any country, every country had its own heroes and people of impact. I see them; they were not for money, though they enjoyed it. I mean, they lived it and they had it all. But I mean, again, they were not for money. I mean, this is very lower the objective. If somebody is living for money, because it is never enough. How much money is enough? It is never enough. I mean, the science for money is, I mean, more you get, hungrier you get. More you get, you thirstier you get. You more you
It depends on your mindset, right?
exactly.
It's about
Yeah,
mindset, right? If you have a rich
yeah.
mindset, then money doesn't
That doesn't
matter.
matter.
But if you have a poor
Yeah.
mindset, then
So
money matters.
to
Yeah.
you, since you are a person of uh, abundant mindset, you're a rich mindset. So you are not working for money. You're not. I mean, we've been talking a lot of time. I mean, it's been quite a time now. I see you a person on mission. You didn't ask any idea about that can get us money, or that we can talk of money. No, you've been talking about impact. You want to write a book, and I mean, you want to so that you want to write a powerful book on abundance, so that you can present. I mean, how rich mindset or abundant mindset can make people themselves a rich person or abundant person. Whereas, I mean, we are poor just because of our poor mindset. I mean, I have even read Rich Dad Poor Dad book also. It teaches same. I mean, the mindset gets it. So, okay, now coming back to the scaling, and I mean, we were talking about before. I mean, we before going live, we were talking about collaboration between your startups and your businesses with Global Abundance Organization. So, I mean, what's the idea?
Okay, I just want to mention some things that I noticed as we went through about what you were talking about. One thing was intelligence, right? Um, Important thing about intelligence, I believe intelligence is relative, right? So, like, I have opinions about IQ, right? Yeah, but there's a whole subject in itself, right? I don't stand that highly by IQ, or even EQ. I wouldn't look at somebody and think about what their IQ is and whether their IQ is lower or higher, or even EQ. There are different aspects of EQ as well. So like people are intelligent in different ways, right? So just to quickly diversion, I've seen some people that other people consider them not smart. They have, if they did an IQ test, maybe they score very lowly, right? But in terms of their mindset and their approach to things, some people are very smart, but they have high IQ, but they in other ways their decision making and being afraid to take risks and stuff, and losing opportunities because of being too worried about risk. And I think who really is a stupid person, right?
Yeah,
The person with low IQ that's making smart decisions, or the person with high IQ
yeah,
that's making dumb
yeah. If
decisions.
we
Like,
think in terms of IQ,
you get
yeah.
what I'm saying? And I mean, let's say it like this: in terms of EQ, there's a lot of issues as well, right? Like for me, I have very high empathy, right? But AQ is not just about empathy, it's about like resilience, and it's about, we often relate social skills. And I might have high empathy, but socially speaking, right, my social skills are not very good,
I mean,
right? I
okay.
understand a lot about
Can we?
social skills, I can teach it, but you understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of relativity here. We're all on like learning
Okay,
journey.
can we deep dive into
We've
it?
got a lot to learn from each other.
Okay, Robbins, can we deep dive into the social skills that you're not high on them? What are those skills?
I don't want to dive too deeply onto that because I've got more stuff I want to talk about. Okay, we can look at that another time if you want.
I just wanted to help you somehow.
Yeah, you.
Okay, now.
That's
Okay,
okay.
now
We can dive into it another time.
coming.
So
Okay,
before you go,
okay.
before I want to go some stuff I want to go back to before we continue on.
I wanted to talk about the collaboration between Global Abundance Organization
Yes,
and your
can
organization.
we come to that? Can we come to that very soon? Okay. You're talking a lot about the process from like in scaling in terms of technology. Okay. From my perspective, right? Because that was my job, right? That was my job. I was a process analyst, and my job is to take, and I'm still involved with this kind of thing, is to take from what people do, the processes that they follow, through to it being able to be implemented in technology, right? So a process is you have people, process, and then technology. In order for something to go to technology, you work with the people and the processes first. So you have to understand the people and what works for them, and then you develop some processes or somehow something's going to work and the steps involved, and then you make the technology. So the process of scaling starts from before the technology. It starts with the people. And so that's what I was talking about. I was talking about in terms of how people function, how people work. I was also talking about finance, because finance relates to technology. Because if you're going to invest in technology, right, then you need money. So although it's important to have good mindset and not be focused on money, we also need to be aware of it's a tool for abundance, right? It's important not to be important for us, but if we do have money, then we can use it to scale. We can invest it in technology, and even before that, we can invest in people, in processes, and technology. And then we can keep going up the tree like you're talking about. Like when we go make things smaller, we make things better, we optimize, we keep improving, continuous improvement, right? So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now you're talking about abundance organization, how we can collaborate. So we're back talking about people, right? So we're back talking about people, okay? And then the next stage from people is to look at process, right? If you want to scale with people, You need processes, and this is where I'm talking about friction and obstacles. Yeah, you have to have what you have is framework, you have structure, you have processes that allow things, dissemination of knowledge and skill and information to people. And that's when you go on to technology, right? Because the technology enables us to better automate. Because we can do it without technology, but it's very difficult because you have to have people manually moving things. You can follow the same process, right? But you have to have people manually making each thing happen. It can be very slow and efficient, especially if we didn't have technology, we would literally have to travel somewhere. I'd have to travel to Pakistan, right? And back, right? Like,
So again,
it's
on
an
the note,
enabler, but you can do it without it.
yeah, on
So
the
it's
note, I mean, I have also already
moving up.
I have already hit the limit, and I mean, if you want to conclude and give us the agenda for tomorrow, also please conclude and give us the agenda for tomorrow before we say before we conclude.
I think we can continue to talk about the Abundance Organization and how we, as the Abundance Organization, and anybody who wants to jump on board, how we can work together, what the potential is, how can we work together to create more abundance and work together as I say, as an organization that's not focused on money and profit, but just disseminating information and skill and helping to equip people with what they need. And as volunteers that are doing this because we want to, without being paid, how we can grow something like this.
Thank you so much. This was Ruben Hughes, and a person of impact, and he's man on noble mission for education. He wants to alleviate the proper poverty of the world, especially third world. And right now he is in Cambodia. He is a New Zealander and an Australian person, but I mean he's man on a mission, and he wants to scale and upscale the people so that they have comfortable life, and for sure they should have the purpose, the life for purpose. Thank you so much, Robin. See you.